gift of flight is such a wonder. Animals have it lucky. They can soar in the sky while we just watch from below. But we humans have done our best to fly alongside our feathered friends. We've written about superheroes who were gifted such abilities, and many air vehicles have helped us reach heights greater than once thought, with airplanes, rockets, and even hot air balloons. Balloons. Balloons themselves are a funny thing to compare with flight. They're able to go up, but never been really used to help people fly unless it's a special type. Many types of media have shown flying with a common balloon, including a Nintendo game that had you fighting as well. Black box game. Balloon fight for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
It's balloon fight. Balloon fight is so much fun. I'm floating with helium.
In the mid-80s, Nintendo gave us their entertainment system on October 18th, 1985, with over a dozen games to play ranging from sports to action and even Rob? There were plenty of good titles to choose from, but did you know you could have tried them out a year earlier at the arcade? In the limbo year of 1984, when the future of gaming was unknown because of the crash, Nintendo was still on the scene releasing more games, including introducing the Versus system, which was an NES-based arcade unit allowing gamers to get a glimpse at what they didn't know was coming soon. One of those games that found its way from there was Balloon Fight. This game was released for the NES in June of 1986, and I imagine it was received well at the time, but I couldn't find any info to say for certain. I'm sure it was, as it was designed by Yoshio Sakamoto, who's been involved with stuff like Wrecking Crew, Teleroboxer, and WarioWare, all of which I've looked at, plus it was programmed by the late, great Satoru Iwata. The gamer at heart lives on. So anyway, I already had a high opinion on this game even without knowing who made it, and if you've never seen this game before, be prepared to flap your arms to fly as we take a better look at Balloon Fight. You know, fighting with balloons isn't all inane sounding. Turns out they've been used in times of war since the 1780s. While they haven't necessarily been used since World War II, it looks as though Nintendo is trying to make it popular again. You take control of the balloon fighter, and have to take out all the enemies within a given stage to continue. You do so by popping their balloons, but that won't take them out completely as they'll start to parachute down. You can hit them up top again to eliminate them, or if they touch down on a flat surface, they'll try to refill their balloons. You can still take them out before they do so, albeit with a lower point bonus as opposed to when they're parachuting, but leave them be and they'll come back fiercer and a different color. The enemies can be 3 different colors representing the toughness of the enemy over time. And if I'm not mistaken, they seem to be wearing the mask of a plague doctor. Quite fitting at this time if you look at the video's release date. Now for those that know their games, you may find the gameplay strikingly resembles the arcade game Joust, and you would be correct. I wouldn't know how much Joust influenced Balloon Fight, as this inertia-style action game was relatively new, and I'd say Balloon Fight does it better. When you do clear a phase of enemies entirely, you'll move on to the next phase with a new playfield and harder foes, complete about 3 or 4 at a time, and you'll go into a bonus stage where you gotta pop a certain number of balloons coming out of the pipes. A pretty simple concept that can be a little challenging if you don't know how to handle your flapping and velocity. If you miss any, you'll lose out on some bonuses, but get them all to achieve a perfect bonus for extra pointage. So be sure to wrap around when you need to, hope it doesn't get too hectic, and if you have the eyes of a proper balloon fighter, know how to cheat the system by seeing the impending hot air. While the enemies are your top priority, there's a few other things to be on the lookout for. Like for one, when the enemies die, a giant bubble will come from the depths of where they fell, as if it was their last gasp of air. Collect it for additional pointage. While we're on the subject, you probably noticed the body of water here. That's not just decoration, for it hides a dark, foreboding evil in the fish. The fish on occasion will jump up and gobble any enemy that you left floating down to its domain. What that does is take away the bubble bonus you could have potentially grabbed. Granted, it doesn't do it all the time, but you'll know when that's the case when you hear what I like to call the Barrel Eye Tune of Doom. He kinda looks like a barrel eye fish from Animal Crossing slightly. I've been playing that way too much. The fish can eat enemies as well as yourself, so try not to get too close to the water. When you progress in the game, you'll start to see more of this propeller as you advance. When anything gets in its path, it'll send the ballooner flying in any direction, which can be good or bad depending on where you fall. But it can also be quite humorous, as I found out when I saw this. Can you imagine being outside and seeing this take place?
Aliens.
You'll also start noticing that hazards are becoming more apparent in the form of a lightning spark. While there isn't a timer, the clouds flickering and lightning appearing is the game telling you that you should have dealt with the enemies by now, and for that,
You die!
the spark, like the fish, is a one-hit death, so do your best to avoid them. But if you are hit by one of the common enemies, one of your balloons will pop. This won't affect you movement-wise, but you will have lost one of your 2 hit points. You could get a balloon back if you make it to the bonus stage, but if you are hit again with having 1 balloon, you'll lose a life. Lose all your lives and the game will be over. And that's how you play. I'll tell you, I had a blast playing this game. It's pretty fun all around. I don't know what it is, but as this type of gameplay style is quite rare and there's only so many you can name with a single hand that have it, the fun factor is always gonna be there, I think. Now, there may have been a few hiccups here and there, especially with the hitboxes on occasion, but if you aren't thinking about it too hard like a nerd that I am, you'll have a good time the whole way through.
Just gotta keep on flapping. Keep on flapping.
The music was composed by Hirokazu Tanaka, and while I usually praise his work, limited or otherwise, I do have one track to complain about. While it has 2 full tracks and 6 sound bites, which is a common trait with most of his black box work, there is one piece of, well, I'm not sure if I can call it music, that's just irritating to the ears. Reminds me a tad of the Galaxian stage beeping, but more annoying. I get there needed to be some sort of tunage during play, but they could have chosen any other sound, like maybe those that would sound like wind or waves in other games. Just hurry and pop one of the enemies so you don't have to listen to that for long. The early black box games like this one commonly don't have a whole lot of extra content to offer. But even with those limitations, Balloon Fight makes up for it in the other game modes. The other original game mode is Balloon Trip, where you have 1 life and have to navigate this automatic scrolling spark obstacle course. The object being to try and get as far as you can while popping balloons for points, so you can rank up to number 1. I'll be honest, I haven't had much experience with this mode and would have said I wasn't so good at it before the review, but to my surprise I was able to get farther and learn a few more things, like getting farther makes the balloons worth more and you'll get a bonus at random points. Bubbles will stop the auto-scrolling for a few seconds if you want to try and go grab balloons you missed if they're still on screen, and spark movement isn't always the same, so the course can be slightly different when you restart. But still, sparks will end your run if you touch any, sending you flapping down to the water below, and the fish can try to snag you out of the sky if you get too close. The only other mode is the 2-player game, where both of you can compete for points and even get points off each other if you're gonna make it a serious competition. While I don't have a second player, and I would personally recommend trying the game out with a friend in tow, as it may be more fun or frustrating depending on how you two play. Especially during the bonus stages where you can pop each other's balloons without the worry of lives being taken away.
I wonder why I never have any friends to play with.
That's because you shoot the only friends you have.
I didn't find much info on how well this game sold. I did find one source saying it sold under 1 million units, but I couldn't say for certain. Regardless, it was also released on a few choice computers and got its own Game & Watch variant in its heyday, and over the years it would be ported to the Game Boy Advance in a few ways, something called the Sharp Zaurus, plus Nintendo's Virtual Consoles, NES Classic Edition, and Nintendo Switch Online. Nintendo themselves have always been fond of this game, as it has been referenced in a whole slew of their titles in one way or another over the decades, but it also got a little-known sequel that has an interesting story behind it, and a spiritual remake in Tingle's Balloon Fight featuring the odd character from The Legend of Zelda, only made available through Club Nintendo Japan.
So, what is my rate to play?
Nintendo in its early days made a lot of good games. They still do today without a doubt, but there is always something to their older games and classics, such as this. Balloon Fight is fun, so much so with good gameplay and enough action to keep you coming back for more to try and get a high score. I will say it could get repetitive if you play it for a long sitting, the hit detection and hit boxes are a tad bit touchy, and the sound needed to be changed. But other than that, the game is still a good, not perfect, maybe just better in small amounts. I'll say if you treat it like an arcade game, you'll enjoy it even more. Have someone else to play it with, you'll have a blast. But no matter what, you're in for quite a trip when you're fighting with balloons.
To conclude, I give this game a play rate of must play.
But that's only my opinion. If you have your own thoughts, leave a comment. If you like what you see, leave a like. If you think others could enjoy this, share it around the web. And if you want to see more, subscribe. Anyway, this has been BrianTheBlue Game Reviews, Balloon Fight for the NES. Ryan here saying thanks for watching my game review. You can find me elsewhere like on Co-op.com, where me and my friends play through various games for you to see. We do Let's Plays and weekly shows, having fun and getting frustrated in the process. Subscribe today to see what we play next in the coming weeks. Plus, I'm a part of the Millennial X channel. Me and my arcade buddies also love our fair share of gaming, plus goofing around with video topics or each other when we can. We play games, hunt games, and soon review games, movies, and console generations. Change the channel and check us out when you're able. But don't forget, I have plenty of other content on this channel with original series like quick views, console reviews, AC reviews, and current calamities. From software to hardware, I provide any and all gaming reviews. Check out Jacobians further to see what I have to offer. That's all the promotion from me. Click the I to go watch either the previous or upcoming episodes of Game Reviews.